Hello everybody, welcome to the Truth Seekers channel. Today I want to show some passages from the Book of Enoch that links Enoch with extraterrestrials, so ETs or aliens, and UFOs. Okay, let's start with the astronomy of the Book of Enoch. The astronomy in the Book of Enoch, where he describes all the stars, how we fly with these angels, so-called angels. Those were maybe just robots or flying saucers. That they were flying in an angelic spaceship southwards on the earth, coming to a place where there are pillars of heavenly fire. So Enoch describes how he's passing several mountains, which quite well fits with the mountains in the East and South Africa. He passes over where the waters collect, and more detailed places he described that are actually real, and also mentioned the Pleiades and some places by the Antarctica, and this is one of the reasons why I believe Enoch was flying in a spaceship. There is another author on the web. There are more people actually that believe this. A lot of the ancient astronauts theorists believe this. Eric von Daniken believes this, and this writer John McAdam, Enoch and the Extraterrestrial. You can buy his book for just $4. I didn't buy it myself because I read some of the reviews that was not really good, but I like this part. Do extraterrestrials exist? If so, are they visiting Earth right now? Perhaps a better question would be, have they visited us in the past? Following the lead of the man who was taken up by God. John McAdam gives a new, more literal translation to the Holy Book of Enoch and presents some startling new evidence that could prove the ancient astronaut theory once and for all. In Enoch and the Extraterrestrials, new evidence is so potent that scientists themselves may have accidentally proven the hypothesis. Is the ancient alien debate finally answered? Hypothesis is proven. Well, that sounds really good, but I will not myself buy it, because I can do my own research. Let's start with some of the internet websites. One is talking about the color of amber. That might be the Greek word for amber is electron that he mentioned in the book. The Latin word for electric is electricus, meaning literally produced from amber by friction. So Enoch describes electricity in the book of Enoch, according to this website, and that's from reading from Ezekiel 1:4 and 27 in the King James Version. We find the word ember, which is translated from the Hebrew word hashmal. And I saw as the color of ember, as the appearance of fire round about within. So this is also, I think, mentioned in the book of Enoch, of course. Yeah, Enoch became known as Metatron. Tell us that the human presence that was transformed into the communicator through electronic media could in fact have been Enoch himself. So they are linking Enoch with this electricity. Yeah, it's called the revelation from God, what Enoch really experienced. This writer starts here, and the vision was shown to me thus, and pay attention now. Behold, in the vision, clouds invited me, and a mist summoned me. Well, I have the original here from the book of Enoch, Ethiopian, Slavonic, Hebrew, from Joseph Lumpkin translation. In the vision I saw clouds that invited me and summoned me into a mist, and the course of the stars and the flashes of lightning, and hurried me and drove me. And the winds in the vision caused me to fly and lifted me up and bore me into heaven. And I went in until I drew near a wall which was built out of crystals and surrounded my tongues of fire, and it began to frighten me. I went into the tongues of fire and drew near a large house which was built of crystals, and the walls of the house were like a mosaic of hailstones, and the floor was made of crystals like snow. Its ceiling was like the path of the stars and lightning flashes, and between them were fiery cherubim. Their sky was clear as water. A flaming fire surrounded the walls, and its doors blazed with fire. I entered that house, and it was hot as fire and cold as ice. There were no pleasures or life therein. Fear covered me, and trembling got hold of me. As I shook and trembled, I fell on my face. He shook and trembled is like the spaceship took off. And I saw a vision, and lo, there was a second house, greater than the first. There was a second spaceship, the mothership, that was bigger than the small spaceship that took him there. And all the doors stood open before me. And it was built of flames of fire, and in every respect it was splendid and magnificent to the extent that I cannot describe it to you. Its floor was of fire. Its floor was fire, so it was like the burning motor, fire coming out of the motor engine of this spacecraft. And above it was lightning and the path of the stars, and its ceiling also was flaming fire. And I looked and saw a throne set high. Its appearance was like crystal, and its wheels were like a shining sun, and there was a vision of cherubim, who only had immortality, dwelling in the light which no man can approach unto, whom no man hath seen nor can see, to whom he honor and power everlasting. Amen. So this cherubim could walk into fire, so he was not no man, he was a robot. And from underneath the throne came rivers of fire, so that I could not look at it. And he who is great in the glory sat on the throne, and his raiment shone from brightly than the sun, and was whiter than any snow. So this part shows Enoch getting caught in the spaceship and flew to a bigger spaceship with his cherubim. And let's read this from the Revelation from this author, who is going to give his interpretation. And then I'll add this mist inviting him. So it really happened, for he says it is a vision that invited me. But then he heard his voice in the clouds who invited me, who called me, he says. So there's like a sound, somebody called him with a speaker, a large microphone speaker contraption. So it happened really. That's what I can understand from it, and which was confirmed by the Lord, that he heard the voice of God who called him. So he heard his name and he was invited in order to come to him, to God. Then it says, and the course of the stars and the lightning sped and hastened me. The course of the stars, means there was an airship, so a place where they were beamed up, which he described as the course of the stars, and flashes of light made me rush and hurry. These light flashes were the light beam that pulled him up. The Lord indicated that Enoch in fact was beamed up slowly. The Lord beamed him slowly up in order not to scare him. Just think of a floating astronaut, but probably he still felt that as rushing and hurrying at that time. And the winds in the vision caused me to fly and lifted me upward. And the winds means the airflow which he experienced. When he was sucked into the air, he described it as the winds in the vision caused me to fly and lifted me upward. And meanwhile he saw the flashing lights, the lights at the bottom of the ship, and bore me into heaven, and I went in. So he entered into the spaceship, the Elohim ship, says the Lord, till I drew nigh to a wall which is built of crystals. Because of both sides and the outside of the ship was transparent and shiny, he describes it as constructed from crystals and surrounded by tongues of fire. The inside and the outside of the ship have the appearance which looks like fire, so to say, its energy, its color, and its movement. And it began to affright me, and I went into the tongues of fire and drew nigh to a large house which was built of crystals. So he entered into the Elohim ship. He described it as, I drew nigh to a large house, and the walls of the house were like a tessellated floor made of crystals. He could see that the floor was made of crystals, and it was transparent and shiny, and its groundwork was of crystals, so everything was transparent and glossy. Its ceiling was like the path of the stars, so he actually saw lighting, which he could not name. He mentions it as the path of the star, and the lightnings of the lightnings, and between them were fiery cherubim. So in that space, in this Elohim ship, were these special angels who are known as angels who stand close to the throne of God and also come back in the Bible, and their heaven, the top of these angels was clear as water, so actually almost transparent. A flaming fire surrounded the walls, so again that glow and those flames that you see, and its portals, so also the doors. Just think of doors that open and close, blazed also with fire, and I enter into that house. So he entered again through a door to another room, which he also saw the same appearance of the walls as he describes. I think he just entered into a big door of another spaceship, not a room. And it was hot as fire and cold as ice, so it was no fire those walls, but that same warm glow and moving radiation from God's power, and cold as ice, so he did not burn by it. Probably touched it, that he can say cold as ice because it wasn't burning. There were no delights of life therein, so he saw no people in that room, and then he was really anxious, and he got so scared. Fear covered me, and trembling got hold upon me, and as I quaked and trembled, I fell upon my face. He fainted while he was on his knees, but the Lord has also allowed this, which the Lord also confirmed, because he actually was coming out of his own body. He described it as, and I beheld a vision. I think he shook up, the spaceship shook him up by the tribulation of the taking off of the spaceship into space. Yeah, then we're going into some vision. That's out of body experience, could be. And the cherubims are in Chapter 70, Book 1 of Enoch, and round about where the seraphim and cherubim and the ophanim, these are they who do not sleep. So, they who do not sleep but keep watch over the throne of his glory. So something that does not sleep is not organic or human or biological. So you would say, in my opinion, that these are some hybrid creatures that don't need sleep to recover, or just robots. Let's see some more in the Book of the Secrets of Enoch. And the cherubim, hence they seem to have been a class of heavenly creatures. Like the seraphim, the idea of flying serpents was a familiar one from the OTIS, flying serpents, like the flying spaceships. It was not unfamiliar to the rest of the ancient world. And here we have, like in the prophecies of Isaiah, the feet and tails of lions. The feet of the cherubim in Ezekiel are like calves' feet. Their size 900 measures. So they have big feet like calves. In the midst of them are 7 phoenixes and 7 cherubims and 7 6-winged creatures, being as one voice and singing with one voice, and it is not possible to describe their singing, and they rejoice before the Lord and his footstool. Observe that both cherubim and seraphim are also in the seventh heaven. Places the seraphim, Ophanim and Chayot and other angels of service in the seventh heaven. So these creatures are in the seventh heaven. The cherubim and seraphim thrones and the watchfulness of many eyes. They were 10 troops, a station of brightness. And I was afraid and trembled with a great terror. And those men took hold of me and brought me into their midst and said to me, "Be of good cheer, Enoch, be not afraid." And they showed me the Lord from afar sitting on his throne. So the cherubim and the seraphim standing round his throne, and the 6 winged creatures overshadow me all. His throne singing with a soft voice before the face of the Lord, "Holy, holy, holy." So these cherubim, those were these cherubim. Also I have a part in the second Enoch where Enoch had talked to the people. And the Lord sent out darkness onto the earth. This is like where the spaceship was landing to pick up Enoch. This is at the end of the second book of Enoch. It's chapter 67. One of the last chapter, the second to last chapter. When Enoch talked to the people, the Lord sent down darkness to the earth. So like a big spaceship came down and covered those men standing with Enoch. And they took Enoch up onto the highest heaven where the Lord is, and he received him and placed him before his face. And the darkness went off from the earth, and light came again. So like the spaceship came down, the big spaceship covered the sun, the light, it became dark, and it flew away, and it became back bright. That was the spaceship taking away Enoch, like an alien abduction. And furthermore, was the strange bird of Enoch. That was also an alien-like happening. This bird of Noah, the strange bird of Noah, sorry, not Enoch. And some days my son Methuselah took a wife, and then for his son Lamech, and she became pregnant by him and bore him a son, and his body was white as snow and red as rose, the hair of his head as white as wool, and his demena is long curly hair, beautiful, and as for his eyes, when he opened them, the whole house glowed like the sun. And his father Lamech was afraid of him and fled and went to Methuselah his father and said to him, "I have begotten a strange son, not like any ordinary human." So it's not human, but he looks like the children of the angels of heaven to me. His form is different, and he is not like us. It does not seem to me that he is of me, but of angels. That was like strange alien birds there going on. And furthermore, I have the Gaia.com, where Eric van Daniken speaks about Enoch. According to Van Daniken, Enoch was the man who constructed the pyramids to protect biblical texts for future generations to discover. He says that the construction of the pyramids was thanks to the technology of the advanced beings whom Enoch was in contact with and whom he later left with, and never to come back, because we read that Enoch walked with God, Genesis 5:24. As we read the book of Enoch itself, it seems that Enoch not only walked with God, he also flew with God, and God didn't bring him back. Alright, thank you for watching. I wanted to cover those points. The strange bird of Noah, the spaceship-like interaction with Enoch and these angels, the cherubim, seraphim, and Ophanim, and some other writers who also are convinced that this was an ET experience or an alien abduction. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel and like my video.